Hello, Marauders. Welcome back to another PowerPoint for the World History class of Mr. Maloney and Mr. Glazer. Um, Today's topic is going to be on the dreadful Holocaust, one of the worst things that we could talk about in history. Genocide, which is very important for us to know that these things happen in history, not just the Holocaust. Other events have happened in history where people focused on a particular group of people and try to eliminate them from Earth. So the Holocaust, otherwise known as the Shoah, and a quote from Adolf Hitler here, who after all today speaks of the Armenians, Adolf Hitler said in 1939. And we had already learned about the Armenian genocide, and he was basically downplaying that everybody had already forgot about that awful event that happened in the Armenian genocide. So here we go. The Third Reich controls Germany. The First Reich was the Holy Roman Empire, led by Charlemagne. The Second Reich was Bismarck and his blood and iron. And then Adolf Hitler said the Third Reich was going to parlay upon Bismarck's blood and iron and take Nazi Germany to last 1,000 years here. They would use German nationalism and militarism and some social Darwinism to unite the country, like basically telling you that the Germans are the best, that these minorities and these other people in Germany are not equal to them. People like the Jews, gypsies, and other people, and trying to create a world of Germans and to like hold out the others and make this a great German empire. Here are some pictures of Adolf Hitler and Adolf Hitler with his throng of followers. These people would follow him no matter what, even if they knew he was wrong. He was a very well versed person. He was a great speaker, and people followed him in whatever he would do. When Adolf Hitler took over Germany, it was battling the worst economic depression in modern history. Germany during their depression had about 65 to 70% of their people unemployed, so no money was coming in. In order to get people back to work, he created public works projects, getting people jobs, building sidewalks, building roads, building buildings. He also used it for a military buildup, created jobs. It violated the Treaty of Versailles, but his excuse to the world was that he's got to get his people working because so many are out of work. So he just said, hey, we're building up our military so I could get these people jobs, money, and get them working. And third, he blamed it on the Jews and Western power. So he put blame on the mistakes that were going on and the problems in society on a group of people like the Jews and Western powers. So blaming things on people has a tendency to get other people to follow you. Yes, I believe that too. So you get that feeling like, yeah, I buy into this. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. So he's able to get all these people to buy in and follow him, whatever he said. Hitler was then elected Chancellor of Germany in 1933. Some 5 years later, we're going to have Kristallnacht, which is the Night of Broken Glass, which in November of 1938, Nazi-led mobs attacked Jewish communities, homes, and businesses. This was the first sign of the final solution. So this was a major attack on Jews throughout Germany. There were signs before this leading up to this, but this was the sign that if you were a Jew in Germany, you needed to get out. And it was very hard for them to get out, but if you could get out, this would have been the time to try to get out. Hitler and the Nazi party started a group called the Nazi Youth. They used brainwashing and indoctrination of Germany's youth. They had them chanting and singing songs and pledging their allegiance to Hitler and the Nazi party every day of school, and like they were living for this. So the Hitler Youth, Their motto was blood and honor. They were preparing for future military jobs. They were taught to obey and never to question. They were taught you just follow orders, you don't question what's going on around you. And they were obviously racist. They had racist views against all kinds of groups that were not straight Germans. Here are some pictures of the Nazi youth. And here's a quote from Adolf Hitler: "He alone who owns the future, or sorry, he alone who owns the youth gains the future." Adolf Hitler, 1935. There's more pictures of these young Germans that he's warping their minds to be throngs of followers of him later. Life under Nazi occupation. Hitler's New Order. He had a belief in the superiority of Aryans, the Aryan nation. Blonde haired, blue eyed, tall, light complexion. They called them the Germans the master race. These were the master race of people. Inferiors were the Jews, Poles, Gypsies, Slavs, and Russians. He really hated those groups of people. And he would do whatever he could to get rid of them. Here are some more pictures of Hitler's German youth. Building of the Aryan nation. Nazis plundered occupied lands. They took art, factories, natural resources. They set up concentration camps. At first, they used them as slave labor camps to create war supplies for their war efforts. Then they had taken so many people into concentration camps that they didn't have work for them, and they couldn't really afford to feed them all, so they needed to start finding out a different way of doing things, and Hitler's plan was to eliminate them. And there's some pictures of them rounding up some Jews, putting them on rail cars, and taking them to concentration camps. Some of these are work camps, some of them are death camps, some of them are work and death camps. Here are some of the patches that the Jews would have as they were round up. These are not all necessarily Jews, though. At the bottom, you can see these are ones that are not Jews. At the top, you see political, criminal, antisocial, homosexual, immigrant, Jehovah's Witnesses. In the middle here, you see it's got like the Star of David. It's got the double triangle. It's like the Jewish political, Jewish criminal, Jewish antisocial, Jewish homosexual, Jewish immigrant. Then at the bottom, you have your political prisoners, like your political French, your political second-time offenders, and then your criminals, the penal company, and then your war-marked prisoners, and then prisoners under special surveillance. So these are the type of patches that would be on these to signify and differentiate between the groups of people. Different colors, different ways of identifying them. This is when the Nazis began to commit genocide. They targeted the Jews mainly, then Slavs, Gypsies, the disabled, homosexuals. They also looked for political dissidents, those who disagreed with the Nazis and were vocal about it. If you disagreed and you stayed at your house and you didn't say anything, you were fine. But if you said something, you and your family's lives could have been in danger. Ghettos. Ghettos are where Jews were forced in Poland. So they're taken out of their homes to live in poor sections of the cities before they were transported to concentration camps. Almost exactly as how they did it in the Armenian genocide. So they took them, they rounded them up there, and eventually they put them on rail cars. Poland took the brunt of this, and millions of Polish Jews were killed during the Holocaust. Death camps were set up, mass killings, 6 million Jews and almost 5 million others were executed, around 11 million total deaths as a result of the Holocaust. These people were packed in like sardines into rail cars and shipped to their destinations. Sometimes they were killed by gas in showers with the chemical Zyklon B. They put them in these rooms where they thought they were going to get a shower, and the gas came in and killed them. The most notorious camp is known as Auschwitz. This map shows a lot of the These sites where there were extermination sites on the black squares. The white triangles are concentration and extermination camps, and the black triangles are concentration camps. These are places throughout Germany and in Poland and other parts of German uh, rulership. Here's some pictures like railroad going into Auschwitz. There's a picture there of where the Jews had to sleep on these wooden bunk beds with no mattresses. Um, the pills over there on the side, that's Zyklon B. It gets grounded up and turns into gas. It's very poisonous. There's a gas chamber at Dachau, another extermination site. There's a crematorium. Uh, People would have their heads shaved and all their body hair removed from their body before they went in there. It's a horrible thing, the smell of all of these bodies that are being burned. It's one thing to kill one or two people in a crematorium in a day, like for a funeral, but throwing them in there like they were and killing, millions of people, the smell in the area was awful. If you can imagine the smell of all these dead bodies that were being burned one after another, after another, after another. Resistance. There was even a resistance at points in some of these camps and some of these cities. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising of 1943, the people did not want to be rounded up. So they tried to fight back against the German Nazis, but to no avail. Some people protected Jews, like in Denmark and Bulgaria, like stories like Anne Frank, people who were hid in attics or hid in basements, or they tried to protect them and save them. A lot of times they were caught and eventually taken to concentration camps. Some of them survived, while many perished. Here are some of the German death camp workers' um, outfits, clothing, and things that they would have on their uniforms. It's sad that this happened, but it, it's a travesty if we didn't teach it to you. You have to know that these things happened in the history of the world. So hopefully one day that these things will not repeat themselves. Genocide's a horrible thing in the world. We'll be learning about other genocides as we go on throughout the rest of the school year, but I just wanted to let you know how horrible it is that we live in a world where people pick on people like this and kill people for no reason other than their ethnicity or their race or their religion and things like that. So um, that's it with the Holocaust PowerPoint. If you have any questions, again, you can always email me or Mr. Glazer, or you can submit all of your work online through Schoology, or you can scan work and send it to us at our email address. Hopefully you enjoyed today's lecture, and we will see you again for the next one.